is the Big Ten 25-year drought, because ever since Michigan State lost, social media has been buzzing about the drought and the Big Ten not winning another national title. And ever since, I can't seem to get the image of Bruce Pearl and his Auburn team chanting SEC out of my mind after their win over Michigan in the Sweet 16. It was a moment I wanted to make fun of and call them corny and all this other stuff, but at the end, as I sat and reflected, my feelings weren't to ridicule them or call them homers. It was honestly much more about jealousy. Jealous that I knew their conference had a good chance to make up half of the Final Four. Jealous that I knew our conference's last chance was one team out of 8. Jealous because ever since Michigan State cut down the nets in 2000, the conference has been stuck in a drought that's left fans scratching their heads. Today, I want to present my 4 key reasons behind this skid: close losses, talent/NIL, style of play, and yes, I don't normally blame them, but refereeing. First up, tough competition and close losses. Since 2000, Michigan State's win for the Big Ten has reached the national championship game 8 times, tied for the second most appearances of any conference over the past 25 years, trailing only the ACC's 11 total national championship appearances. But here's the brutal truth. They're 0-8 in those games in the conference. They're tied with is the Big East, who is 8-0. Purdue fell to UConn in 2024. Michigan lost to Villanova in 2018. Wisconsin dropped a heartbreaker to Duke in 2015. And it goes all the way back to 2002 when Indiana was beat by Maryland, who you could say is the most recent national champion in the Big Ten now, but they weren't in the Big Ten when they won it. These aren't blowouts either. 5 of these 8 losses were by single digits. Illinois, North Carolina in 2005, Wisconsin, and Duke in 2015, they both were within 5 points. The problem? The Big Ten keeps running into buzzsaws when the Big Ten never seems to have that buzzsaw team. None of these teams were the Big Ten. None of these teams the Big Ten faced were outside the top 3 in KenPom. Multiple of them were number 1 in KenPom in college basketball. How many Big Ten teams have been number 1 in KenPom during this drought? Just one. It was the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2011, which featured every starter on their team from the state of Ohio. But after reaching the Sweet 16 and falling to John Calipari and his Kentucky Wildcats, as the Buckeyes had one of their worst shooting performances of the season. Plus, 7 different Big Ten teams have appeared in those national championship games. In fact, every opponent in those title games was a number 1 seed. Think UConn, the year when Robbie Hummel said that nobody was beating them, or Florida in 2007, mid-dynasty. The Big Ten's been right there, but the competition has just been a hair too tough, or maybe they've just been a hair luckier. Next, we're going to talk about talent and NIL. The Big Ten churns out pros. Those 8 runner-up teams produce 22 NBA draft prospects, including 15 first-rounders. In fact, this year alone, the entire league will most likely send 5 or 6, possibly more. We'll see players get drafted from Big Ten teams. Solid, right? But their opponents in those national championship games had 37 NBA picks and 24 in the first round. That's a gap you cannot ignore. From 2009 to 2023, Big Ten schools landed just 7 top 10 recruits per the 24/7 rankings, and only 1 was a guard. Indiana's Romeo Langford in 2018. Meanwhile, studs from Big Ten backyards like Chicago's Anthony Davis, Jabari Parker, or Minnesota's Jalen Suggs bolted for Duke, Kentucky, Gonzaga. Bruce Weber, who coached Illinois to the 2005 title game, hit the nail on the head when he said, "You win in March with guards." Look at the title games, right? Villanova, Jalen Brunson, Dante DaVincione, Sinzo. It's not Zoe. It's Zoe. Yeah. Shredded the Big Ten team Michigan in 2018. Louisville's Russ Smith and Peyton Siva outplayed Michigan's Trey Burke in 2013. The Big Ten's had stars: Zach Edey, Cody Zeller, Victor Oladipo, but they've struggled to stockpile the elite guard talent that lights up March. It's obvious. It's obviously getting better, but you look at this year, according to KenPom, some of the best guards in the Big Ten were Dylan Harper, Desmond Claude, John Tonji, Braden Smith, Jacoby Gillespie, Bruce Thornton, and Eric Daly. I like a lot of those players, but if we're being honest, they either don't have the elite athletic talent around them they need, or the depth to spur their team forward. Why is this? NIL. When it comes, and NIL has not been around this entire time, but at least recently, when it comes to assembling a roster and playing the best players in the country, the SEC is far and away paying others and more. Certain Big Ten teams can match the SEC, but even then, the teams that are paying the most in the Big Ten are either even or on par with the worst teams in the SEC. Building a roster and culture requires the right balance of retaining key players and also bringing in missing pieces. Without proper NIL resources, that makes building a roster nearly impossible in this day and age. Reason number 3, style of play and tournament performance. The Big Ten got a reputation. Physical defense first that grinds opponents down. It's big and tough, not athletic and strong. Tom Izzo once said, "We beat the out of ourselves because our league was so physical and wore down." That wins Big Ten titles. Purdue beat a number 1 seed. Michigan State's a machine, right? But it doesn't win you games in March as often as some other teams do. The NCAA tournaments. The NCAA tournament's a different beast. Fast-paced, guard-driven, single elimination chaos. The stats back this up. In those 8 title games, the Big Ten outshot their opponents from the field just once and out-rebounded them twice. Illinois in 2005 and Purdue in 2024 leaned on D but couldn't match the offense of North Carolina or UConn. Beyond the finals, the conference has sputtered. 26 teams from 2021 to 2023 and only 2 made the Elite 8. Purdue's collapse to 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson in 2023. That was a killer for the conference. That was a team that could have possibly won it all. The Big Ten's gritty style might not always mesh with the tournament's wild energy. While the Big Ten has managed to get away from the style of play issues lately, the tough and big versus strong and athletic criticism, to me, it remains more than I think some people give it credit for. Not with everyone, right? Danny Wolf, Derek Queen, those were good athletic big additions, but both will most likely be gone. Finally, reason number 4, and this is the one I hate to bring up, but I think I have to bring it up. It's refereeing. Now, if you've been watching this channel long enough, you know I'm not usually one to point at fingers at the refs. You know, games are won by players, not by whistles. You know, I think that's the way it goes. But 2 Big Ten titles make me raise my eyebrows. First, 2005 Illinois, and the second one being Wisconsin in 2015. In 2005 against North Carolina, Illinois' big man James Augustine fouled out in 9 minutes. No points, while UNC's Sean May went off for 26 and 10. Bruce Weber still hears about the officiating from fans at airports. It was that bad. Then 2015, this to me is the most egregious one. Wisconsin's up 9 on Duke with 12, maybe 11 minutes left in the game, and the refs flip the script. 8 of the next 11 fouls go against the Badgers, who were averaging just 12.5 fouls per game all season long, lowest in the nation. 9 fouls in the final 12.5 minutes. Bo Ryan was livid. It's just unfortunate that it's just unfortunate that this one had to be played out that way. Momentum swung. Duke won 68-63. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory or anything like that. The conference, the second most title games trip, but the conference has had the second most title game trips since 2000, and they go 8-0. And 2 of those losses hinge on questionable officiating. Something feels off to me. Referees, not the whole story, but at least a piece of it. So what's the deal with the Big Ten's 25-year drought? It's a mix of brutal matchups, NIL issues, a style that doesn't always click in March, and some head-scratching officiating. 8 title game appearances show that the Big Ten is close, right? But something is holding us back. What do you think? Bad luck, deeper issues? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe.